Jordan Peterson was trying to warn us. In recent years, there's been a massive push by gender ideologists to mandate the use of gender-affirming pronouns in society. They even succeeded in getting some laws passed, especially in Canada. This essentially counts as forced speech because it compels individuals to use these pronouns or choose to face social or even legal troubles. Joe Rogan and Matt Walsh discussed this very topic, and they showcased how Jordan Peterson has always tried to sound the alarm on the dangers of imposing laws that restrict to direct speech. But before I delve deeper into it, make sure to subscribe for more discussions just like this.
Well, when Jordan Peterson first started talking about compelled speech and compelled use of pronouns, I remember people thinking, like, why do you care about this? This is like such a small issue with a marginalized group of people. Like, let them have their identity and use the pronouns they want. And, you know, this is like, what was it, 2015, 2016? And I remember his warning, and I remember many other people like, this is going to spill over. Like this, if you can enforce this on a professor, and if you can enforce compelled speech, because Canada doesn't have the same free speech laws we do in America. Yeah. And if you can, like, where does it go? How are you compelling it? Well, it means through violence or through police or through the fear of being arrested, the fear of having your job taken away from you. Like, this is literally what happens when you use laws to compel people. Like, you have to have some sort of a punishment if they don't follow through, if they don't follow your orders. And this is what he was worrying about. And I remember at the time being like, I hope he's wrong. Like, I hope it doesn't get that big. But now here we are, 7 years later.
Yeah.
And he was right.
Because there's also a difference between telling people they can't say something, which is what free speech suppression usually is, and that's bad enough. But then telling people that they have to say something,
yes,
compelling them to actually say something, putting words in their mouth and telling them that you have to say this. And it's not you know, pronouns. It's not a small thing, because when you use the she for a he, you're not only being forced to say something, but you're being forced to affirm and acquiesce to a claim that you don't agree with. You're being forced to express a belief that's not yours. I mean, it's like it's not much different from, you know, a dictatorship forcing someone to profess belief in a religion. You know, it's forced conversion, basically, is what it is. And once you allow that, it doesn't matter. Of course, it's going to start somewhere small. It's just pronouns. It always starts that way. But like I said, it's actually not small. Pronouns there's a reason why the left makes a big deal out of it. So anytime people on the right say, well, it's not a big deal, in response to the left making a big deal about something, well, they wouldn't be making a big deal about it if it wasn't a big deal. And the fact that they're choosing this hill to defend should tell you that there's something here worth fighting over.
The issue of gender-affirming pronouns has become a point of debate over personal freedoms and the limits of societal norms shaped by new ideologies. You see, what the left likes to describe as respecting diversity and inclusivity in speech is nothing but forced speech, which represents a major threat to the principles of free expression. Mandating the use of gender-affirming pronouns acts as an infringement on individual rights, especially for those who do not acknowledge gender identities beyond the biological binary of male and female. Jordan Peterson is even facing the threat of losing his psychology license over the issue because the Ontario College of Psychologists forced him to take courses on social media sensitivity. As you'd expect from Peterson, he rejected undertaking these courses and said, quote, "It's definitely the case that the goal is to take my license," adding, quote, "because they'll claim after dragging me through whatever this re-education is going to be, is that I can't be taught and I'm ungovernable." I think this form of compelled speech sets a dangerous precedent by establishing a framework where the state of whoever dominates social discourse through their loud but non-logical arguments gets to dictate the terms and language of private individuals' thoughts and speech. Such a scenario paves the way for increased governmental and societal overreach into personal lives, which typically marks the start of dictatorships. This is particularly concerning in democratic societies that value civil liberties and the free exchange of speech.
My kid was going to school with a girl who was a they-them. She decided she was a they-them. And she demanded that they talk in they-them way. Like, you had to use, when you were referring to her as a plural. This girl wore makeup, dressed like a girl, just decided that she was a they-them, and would get angry if you misgendered her and not calling her a plural.
Yeah. And what does that mean? So we have enough of a problem getting someone who identifies as a woman to tell us what a woman is, but
right. What's a they?
Yeah. What do you like? Describe to me the feelings of being a they. Describe. Can you describe that? What is that experience like? And anytime you ask someone to do that, it immediately descends into incoherence. And also, by the way, the actual gender-neutral pronoun for an individual is it. It's not they. So it's interesting that, well, nobody wants to be an it because it's dehumanizing.
Offensive.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to be a they. But yeah, if you're calling yourself non-binary, you have dehumanized yourself because human beings exist in a sex binary, male and female. If you're rejecting that, you are rejecting your human identity. And so you've already dehumanized yourself. You are actually it. If it's true that you are not a male or female, then you are an it. We don't know what else to call you.
And then maybe more importantly, one of the things that you're doing when you're doing that is you're giving people, especially if you do it to young people, you're giving them an opportunity to be special and to get special treatment without any special act. They haven't done anything that warrants that unique behavior.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I think that's actually so much of this that and people don't notice it, but a lot of this is just standard narcissism.
Yes.
Especially you listen to these, why is this so common among celebrities now? All the celebrities have trans kids and they're coming out as non-binary and whatever else. And then you listen to them like Demi Lovato or whoever, and you listen to them explain why they're they them. It's always, well, I don't identify with these labels. I'm beyond that. I'm above that. It's like these labels were good enough for billions of humans before you, but it's not good enough for you. You can't find yourself there, but all these other billions of human beings, it was fine. They had no problem. But you're so special that we need to change the rules of the English language for you specifically. It's incredibly egotistical.
That's absolutely true. The adoption of gender-affirming pronouns among some young people seems to be driven more by a craving for attention and a desire to fit in with the current societal trends than by a deep connection to the actual issue of gender identity, and social media had a huge role in this. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter provide a stage where individuals receive validation and attention through likes, comments, and shares. For some, using non-traditional pronouns or identifying with a non-binary gender serves as a way to stand out, attract attention, or align with a group that likes to portray itself as progressive and avant-garde. This trend among the younger demographic also appears to be more influenced by peer pressure than by meaningful personal conviction. Adolescents who are in the thick of forming their own identities are increasingly adopting scientific pronouns, more so to meet their peer group's expectations than from a genuine understanding or commitment to the cause. This can dilute the significance of such choices, turning them into mere fashion statements rather than expressions of true identity or advocacy for the rights they claim to be fighting for. This raises the question, are we just caught up in a wave of performative activism that's more about personal branding than affecting real change? Because simply put, such actions could be best described as pure narcissism.
It's like if you feel that you're different than everyone else, you're still a female. You're just a different human being who happens to be a female. If you're so unique, go prove it with your actions. Prove it with your work. Prove it out there in the world. But to demand this very special attention, and that's what we give people. Like, if you give people that thing today, they'll tell, there's groups of people that will tell you, you're amazing, you're incredible, you're beautiful, you're brave. It gives them positive affirmation for making these decisions.
It's also part of what you're describing is personality, right? I mean, so if you're saying, oh, I'm a female, but I don't identify with girly things and I don't like the color pink and whatever. Okay, that's your personality, and it's fine. There are many ways to be a woman. There are many ways to be a man. There's like almost infinite ways of doing it because each man and woman has their own personality, their own perspective of the world, and that's fine. So I think that what I'm expressing is more the kind of traditional idea is much more expansive because it allows you as a man to just be who you are. You're still a man, but be who you are. The idea now is that if you're a man, but you have interests or ideas that fall outside of the standard norm, now you lose your manhood. You're actually a woman. So they're actually reinforcing the gender binary while trying to destroy it at the same time, which is interesting. But I think most of what they're trying to describe is actually just personality. Yeah. And now we have this situation where you could have a person who has 5 different genders and 6 sexual orientations, but no personality because their personality has been subsumed by all of these labels. They've categorized and labeled and everything, and it's really strange.
Matt does a pretty good job here outlining the paradoxical way in which the woke gender ideologists think the core of this issue lies in assigning a new gender identity based solely on interests or behaviors that people find joy in and deviates from traditional norms. For example, suggesting that a man who enjoys activities traditionally seen in feminine might not really be a man, but instead might be a woman or non-binary, inadvertently affirms the stereotype that only women should engage in the activities, which is something that these ideologically driven people have fought against for decades now. This perspective also confuses personality traits and interests with gender. Gender's a biological fact, whereas interests and behaviors can be shared across any gender. By conflating the two, the discussion shifts from the definition of what it means to be a man or a woman to restricting individuals to new labels that might not necessarily reflect their true identity. Plus, this kind of thinking can make society more fragmented and spread confusion about what gender identity really means. It introduces a whole new layer of complexity to public discourse on gender, where people may feel pressured to adopt labels that don't genuinely resonate with their own sense of self. Taking it back to the initial point, I believe the essence of democracy is the ability to agree to disagree. When governments or social movements push for compulsionary adherence to specific linguistic frameworks, it risks creating a homogenous society that rejects dissonance and difference. This not only limits intellectual diversity, but also undermines the foundational democratic principle that individuals should not be compelled by law or social coercion to express beliefs they do not hold. But what are your thoughts on this? Should government be allowed to force related laws on people? Let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below.